Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 63 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How are you two doing?
I'm excited to be here. How about you, Sean?
Yeah, also excited to be here. After in our new format, it's sometimes hard to watch one episode and not want to sneak off and watch the second episode, along with it. So this one episode format's killing me, because like I want to watch like more.
Sean, you just want to commit to the binge?
Oh yeah, I really want to watch more Kaiju number 8 because like I said, I'm caught up on the at least I'm caught up on the manga and My Hero. So for me, I'm like, okay, like I already know what's gonna happen here, but I'm like, but I want to know what happens in Kaiju number 8.
I love the binge. So one episode at a time is tough.
We think it creates the best podcast experience, right? I mean, I think so. If I like when people watch along with us, if we're watching one episode a week and you are watching along with us at home, it's a great honor and it's really fun that you can sit and analyze the episodes alongside us. So I actually like our format. I haven't seen a lot of other people do our format, and yeah, I hope that kind of catches on because I think it's really fun.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who's watching our stuff and listening to our stuff. Thanks to you if you're watching along and you're enjoying it with us. And yeah, let us know what you think of what we're covering. We'd like to hear from you. We've had a few people leave some comments on like the YouTube videos, but not a lot. So feel free to pop in and say hi to us.
And with that, today we are talking about episode 2 of Kaiju number 8 and season 7, episode 2 of My Hero Academia. Kaiju number 8, episode 2. The Kaiju Who Defeats Kaiju. The episode begins with a recap of the end of episode 1 of Kafka turning into a kaiju. And then we get a real bitchin' opening credit song. Turtle, take it away.
The opening theme is called Abyss by the band Youngblood. Now, let me spell this for you because they spelt it not correct intentionally. Youngblood, Yungblud. The song starts off very slow and very silent, which sounds strange for a song. You hear this pounding sound effect like a heartbeat, and then the song starts. It slowly builds, and we get to the chorus. At first, I didn't care for this song, but once the chorus hit, I really changed my mind. The song's rather simple in its construction, and I'm not the biggest fan of the vocals, a little too quote unquote whiny sounding for me. But the chorus of Save My Life really struck me. This is a perfect song to open a show like this, and the visuals I just thought were really cool as well. And I don't think they spoil anything because I mentioned before that I don't like the spoilers in the opening scene. So as an opening theme, I give this a 4 out of 5. I've never heard of Youngblood. I don't know who they are, but I'm definitely going to look them up now.
I love how heavy the bass is in this song.
Yes, you do get a lot of bass sound effects. You know, the bass drum, the actual bass guitar, very low end, which I appreciate. I like the low end, so it's good, man. Check it out.
We get a flashback of a young Mina and a young Kafka in school. Mina is mocking Kafka for saying, "Even when you're scared, I'll be right there beside you." Tell- telling him to lay off the manga, you nerd. Kafka is embarrassed, saying to not tell their moms. Mina thanks him for the support.
The childhood friend trope. It's strong. It's so strong.
Ship!
They have to get together. They have
Ship!
to.
Ship!
I'm all in for the ship, but also no nerd shame. We're all nerds here. All nerds are welcome.
Back to the present day, we see Mina and White Tiger walking amongst 3rd Division as they prep for the attack on the hospital and Kafka, the kaiju. We see a random man walking the streets complaining that taxes paid for the annoying kaiju alert from his phone. He is told to get inside by his mom or his wife. We then see a family watching TV. The wife says to turn the lights out. Back at the hospital, Kaiju Kafka is about to scare the old man to death. Kafka and Ichikawa are also freaking out. Ichikawa tells Kafka to smile at the old man, but the smile is super creepy and scares the old man more. Kafka goes to check on him. When he places his hand on the wall, he destroys it, freaking out Kafka and Ichikawa in the process. Ichikawa says they have to run. Kafka tries to open the window and obliterates the window and the wall in the process. Ichikawa jumps out of the destroyed window. Kafka follows suit.
The creepy smile and the accidental destruction was just killing me. I couldn't stop laughing. Just like the whole process and the way it was animated and the sequence of events was just extremely good comedy.
This episode made me laugh several times. This was one of them, and we'll get to the others later. But I also love the idea that the white tiger is named White Tiger since we don't have a name for it yet.
That's just Mike naming it. It's like, well, fuck, I'm being very literal. It's like, all right, White Tiger.
I will die if we find out its actual name is White Tiger. I'll lose it.
What if it's like, and what if they give us like a cool name, but when you translate it from like Japanese to English, it's actually just White Tiger, just translated like
We'll
from
still love
Japanese
it.
to English. So his name's actually just White Tiger.
We'll absolutely love it. I'm in.
Another thing that I got a kick out of, Sean, because I also got a laugh out of the smile and the accidental destruction, was the guy like walking the street. I can't believe my taxes pay for this annoying alarm system, and then he's getting told like, get the hell in the house.
Yeah, like how accurate is that though? Like some grumpy dude. Oh, my tax dollars at work. Like
There's always
so
somebody
accurate.
complaining about something.
Hmm.
We see the 3rd Division on their way to the hospital. Vice Commander Soshir Hoshina says the kaiju has fled and is heading to an abandoned area. Ichikawa is running, trying to figure out how this happened. We see Kaiju Kafka with his head tilted and a strand of tissue. I don't know what it is. It's some weird red strand coming out with skulls flowing out of his neck. He has also grown tentacle legs. Ichikawa is freaking out by this new look. Kafka then goes alien and has a mini alien coming out of his mouth. The mini alien lashes out and begins to eat a bird, which is pixelated. Kafka then says he has a problem. He has to take a leak. Ichikawa says this is not a good time, and then wonders where it will even come out from. We then see Kafka beginning to urinate out of his nipples as he runs. Kafka asks if he has a chance still at the Defense Force. Ichikawa says no way, that he would be killed on sight if they saw him like this.
I love that he has all these modes that he knows nothing about. It's like his body almost has a mind of its own. So like I guess maybe we'll explore some of these later as he gets a better grasp on his powers. But he also had a line after urinating out of his nipples. He said, "Who would take me as a bride now?" And that is such a I see that kind of joke in anime all the time, and like it's always one of my favorites. I don't know why. Like it makes me laugh so hard that line.
That
Every anime I
quote,
see it in.
that quote killed me.
It just comes out of nowhere, and that's what got me. It's this whole scene was hilarious. This had me about rolling on the floor.
I lost it at this scene. The the bird being pixelated while being eaten, the urinating out of the nipples, Ichikawa wondering where the urine would even come out of because where his genitals would be were just like almost like a Ken doll plastic flatness.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, rest in peace, genitals.
Yeah, this whole sequence was absurd, and I loved it.
The two come across a barricade. Ichikawa believes they will be in the clear once they cross it. Kafka senses trouble. The 3rd Division learns of the kaiju attack, diverging some of their members to hit both spots, where Kafka is and where the kaiju attack happened. Kafka can sense it was the same type of Yoju that attacked in episode 1. Ichikawa says this is the perfect diversion for them to hide.
It looks like Kafka's getting bailed out by that other kaiju. So I guess glad that guy showed up. Good timing.
I love the reveal that Kafka can sense other kaiju, or at least this one. I'm assuming he can sense others. That's going to play a huge part coming up. I'm sure that's going to come back in like just about every episode. I'm willing to bet.
We see a young child crying at her trapped mom's side. The young child tries to free her mom when the Yoju appears behind the child. The mother begs for her daughter to run away, but the daughter refuses to leave her mom. The Yoju is ready to eat the child when Kafka appears and punches it in the face, sending it flying. Kafka can't believe his own strength. He asks if the child is okay. He tries to smile and freaks the child out. I lost it at the animation of Kafka trying to smile at the child. Like, it was hilarious.
Yeah, the girl was screaming, and they drew her head spinning around in circles.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right.
exorcism head
Yeah,
spin.
yeah, the Exorcist has been, yeah.
Kafka frees the mother. Ichikawa ensures the daughter that the mother will be okay. She's just, knocked unconscious, but she'll be fine. Kafka tells Ichikawa to get them out of there, and he plans on punching the Yoju as hard as he can.
Yeah, I like the tone shift here. It gets really dark, but they find a way to lighten it up with comedy, so you don't stay too serious and intense the whole time. They have a really good sense of timing in this show, and I love the plan of just punching hard.
I knew he was going to appear to save, the mom and the girl. It just I knew it was going to happen. You can predict that. But it was still so satisfying to have him swoop in and just deck that thing. And I love it. I love Kafka. I love the kaiju form, and I can't wait for more of this show. Already, I'm hooked.
The animation of Kaiju Kafka punching the Yoju is absolutely incredible. Definitely worth checking out. He destroys the Yoju, sending pieces flying all over the place, and it begins to rain blood. That's going to be one hell of a job for the cleaning company. Kafka is covered in Yoju blood. He tells the daughter to get her mom to a hospital. The daughter is scared at the sight of Kafka. He kneels down to her level and tells her not to be scared. The daughter says, "Mr. Kaiju, thanks for helping us." We get a flashback of a young Mina thanking a young Kafka and that she will never be afraid as long as they're together. The two begin to run in a field, leading to an awesome transition back to the present day of Kafka looking towards the horizon with him and Mina standing side by side.
The music and the visuals here were all incredible. Um, there was like the electricity and the kaiju kind of like powering up. The impact, like you could feel the impact of the punch. Uh, the animation of the explosion, the raining blood, all of it was so well done. What an incredible presentation. Then after the flashback, it really feels like we're like at the beginning of an adventure. I feel like this is kind of like the end of like the prologue to our journey. I'm pumped up.
I also love this entire sequence. And I know, like, sometimes I still play this little game. I know, like, we probably did this in high school with, each other and friends that we know. If you could have one, like, superpower, what would it be? And one of my answers is always, like, the power to control and produce electricity. So when he does that punch and his whole arm just starts to electrify and the wonderful animation, I was super hyped up. I was excited. And it makes me wonder what all abilities does Kafka have now that he is a kaiju?
Ichikawa tells Kafka to get a move on it before the third division arrives. Kafka is able to transform his head back to normal and says that he's not going to give up on the defense force. We see Mina at the location of the destroyed Yoju. She wonders what happened. Hoshina asks what they missed. Hell, even the tiger's confused. Mina goes up to the daughter and asks about Kafka Kaiju. She is afraid of what happened. Mina promises to destroy all kaiju. The kid asks about the good kaiju. Is Mina going to hurt it? Mina is confused by this question and the thought of a kaiju helping the mom.
No such thing as a good kaiju. Execute him. I'm kidding, of course. I see that Kafka will keep his identity secret for now, which is an interesting direction for the series. Because sometimes, um, sometimes we don't do that step, and sometimes we do. Uh, he'll be found out eventually, obviously, but I think that I'm happy to be along for the ride so far.
I've often seen the secret identity trope used many times in many shows, and it can be a fun and exciting twist when the reveal happens, be it a positive one or a negative one. I'm wondering if we're going to get something like a positive twist with it when he finally has to reveal it's to save his crew and maybe even Mina herself. So I'm interested to see when that comes into play because I'm sure it will.
The cleaning company is watching the news. They are showing a depiction of Kaiju number 8, what the news is calling Kafka Kaiju. We learn that 3 months have passed since Kafka first transformed. The nameless workers can't believe that the Defense Force hasn't found Kaiju number 8 yet. They clearly don't know they can find him on Crunchyroll every Saturday.
Like that plug.
Ichikawa is thinking to himself that this has gotten out of hand, as we learn that him and Kafka got some official looking mail. The mail? The application results for the Defense Force. We learn that Ichikawa has passed the initial exam. The random coworkers ask if they should deliver Kafka's results, but Ichikawa says he has it covered. Ichikawa can't resist the urge to peek at Kafka's results and smiles.
I love how supportive Kafka's coworkers are. Like they've been working with him for a while, and they've seen like him fail time and time again, but they really want him to succeed. So it's just like really nice to have like a supportive cast and not like I don't know like unnecessary conflict.
Yeah, I also enjoyed the support and the inability to suppress the urge to peek. Did he pass? Did he make it? It was a great reveal.
Ichikawa runs to Kafka with some inspirational music playing in the background. He yells to Kafka that he made the cut. Kafka is eating his lunch in kaiju form. Ichikawa dropkicks him and starts freaking out on why he's in that form in public. Kafka didn't realize he was in kaiju form. He fixes his face, but his mouth is still in kaiju form. We get a flashback of Ichikawa carrying Kafka back to the hospital. The hospital staff ask if they're okay, as they were in the room that was destroyed. Ichikawa says they barely survived, but are okay, that they ran away when the kaiju showed up.
It's a good cover up and good thinking by them because I almost forgot that they should actually go back to the hospital. Um, I figured they're just gonna leave and go on the run or something, but no, they actually went back to come up with the story.
I got a really big kick out of Kafka, his mouth staying in kaiju form when he was eating lunch. I found that very funny.
All those pointy teeth.
Yeah, him being kind of like unable to control his form is actually like it's just like really funny, and hoping keep it together for the exam.
Kafka opens his results to see that he passed, but doesn't really celebrate. Ichikawa is rightfully confused by this reaction. We learn that Kafka always washes out in the second round. Kafka says he is going to the second round regardless. He's 32, that this is his last shot, and nothing is going to stop him from taking it. Ichikawa says he's going to stick it out, and from here on out, they are rivals. Kafka tries to open his drink. The cap is stuck. He turns kaiju form and destroys the bottle. Ichikawa is not pleased and starts to yell at him. Kafka says it's time for the revenge match. 10 days later, Ichikawa and Kafka arrive at the testing grounds for the Defense Force selection. They park their van in spot number 55. They get out of the van, and Ichikawa talks about how massive the base is. A motorcycle parks. Its rider pulls off his helmet to show a red haired man. We see a blue haired man waving and a blonde haired man running. Kafka begins talking to Ichikawa as we hear a female voice call Kafka old man.
I love a good examination arc, like the Naruto Chunin exams, the Hunter license test in Hunter x Hunter, the Hero license test in My Hero Academia. Like you wanna pull me in. I eat that stuff up. I can feel the hype, and I've used hype a few times to describe what's happening. But like that's what this show's doing. I'm just hyped.
I'm also very excited. And the fact that they point out all of these characters to us means we're going to be seeing them again, I assume, in the next episode. So I'm interested to learn about these characters and what their deal is.
Kafka pays the female voice no mind until Ichikawa says something. She says to be cognizant of his surroundings. We get a hilarious visual of Kafka and Ichikawa wondering, who is the old man? Kafka begins to freak out, saying he's only 32 and that does not make him old. The girl says it does too, and Ichikawa says it's not young. The girl says to move the rust bucket because her lucky number for the day is 5. Kafka calls her a snotty little gremlin for having a lucky number of the day. She begins to undress in the parking lot. Kafka half attempts to cover his eyes. She has a battle looking suit on. She powers it up and moves the car with one hand, freaking out Ichikawa and Kafka. We learn that this girl is exam taker 2016, Kikuro Shinomiya. Ichikawa recognizes the last name. Shinomiya smells Kafka and asks why he reeks of kaiju, thus concluding the episode.
So that's a good cliffhanger, right? But then you realize the easy answer is they work for the cleanup team and they're just covered in kaiju guts all day. So I think that like this kind of cliffhanger, oh no, she onto him being a kaiju is going to be resolved in like the first 15 seconds of the episode, and it's going to be a nothing, you know, like it's not going to be anything important. So I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you guys are trying to do there, but it's not going to be a big deal.
I'm so ashamed to say I didn't think of that until you said it.
That's okay.
That makes perfect sense. As soon as you said it, I'm like, oh, yeah. That's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, at least they weren't on entrail duty that week, right?
That's true.
I also feel bad for Kafka when he's like, I'm only 32, that's not old. And Shinomiya and Ichikawa are like, yeah, you are. It's like, the three of us, we're all in our 30s. It's like, that's not old. We're still young at heart.
It's not old at all.
It's kind of old.
Don't say
It's
that.
it's not old, Sean. We're
It's
It
not
still
depends
on
on
the
old.
it depends
we're
on
still
who
on the
you
front
ask.
line.
It depends on who you ask. If you ask people our age, we're gonna say it's not that old. But if you ask anyone who's like in high school, they're gonna be like, yeah, when you're in high school, anyone over the age of like 23 is old. So like, it's a matter of perspective. So I guess if you ask me, no, it's not old. But don't ask people the same age as Ichikawa because they might have different viewpoints.
What did the two of you think of this episode?
Great. I want more.
Yeah, I'm ready to watch the next one. These are really good. I like you said, they showed all these different characters, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get to know all these characters. And I bet you like half of them are just gonna be like a holes and really mean to our main characters here. But they're probably gonna be really cool. It's interesting that they don't have like I don't know how this exam is gonna work because it's not like they have different abilities. This isn't like the martial arts tournament. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what this test is going to entail. Is it just like obstacle course running? Is it like weapons aim and things like that, right? Like do they because that's how I imagine it should be probably is like running some ninja warrior-esque courses maybe.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see, what the step two of these tests are. Obviously, step one must be like some sort of written thing that you can write down and fill out and submit to them, and they'll tell you, okay, you passed, you can come in for part two, or no, you failed, we don't want to see you. So I'm anxious to see, what's the test? What's part two of the test that he always failed out on?
I love this episode. This show, I know we're only 2 episodes in, but it's quickly becoming a favorite of mine. Like just the balance of the comedy and the tone changes and everything Really digging it so far.
And the action seems like it's going to be pretty good.
And with that, it is time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week's beer comes to you from Other Half Brewing, and it is their Keystone Cappers, an 8% Imperial IPA packed with cashmere, galaxy, centennial, and anchovy hops. It was brewed in collaboration with New Trail. I love how the can art is video game inspired, with being 8-bit graphics, and they say everything is PA based, which isn't a lie, but it's all stuff related to Philly or Gettysburg. No love for Pittsburgh. The average untapped rating is a 4.08, and I give it a 4.25. Now that our thirst has been quenched, let's shift gears to talk about My Hero Academia Season 7, Episode 2, Spectre. The episode begins with Star explaining her quirk and how far she can push each role. Some people believe it can only go so far because she's a girl. One of her squad mates tells her that isn't the reason, but that's just how her quirk is. And if that's not enough, they'll always be there to back her up. Another squad mate says her biggest issue is she tries to compare herself to All Might. Star smiles at their support and is glad they never said the words she hates so much. Cue the opening.
Unfortunately, women are put down all the time for simply being born a woman. Uh, Star is the second strongest person on the entire planet, like after All Might, pretty much. And there's some incel loser posting on social media that she'll never be as strong as All Might because she's a woman. Listen, bro, women don't like you because you're a misogynistic creep. Insulting other women, especially ones who found great success and power, isn't going to make your position any better. It's going to make you more pathetic.
I have nothing to add to that. That was beautiful, Sean. Thank you.
The Tiamat missiles are inbound. The squad asks if Star can grab them. She says yes, but she will need to drop the laser roll to do so. Shigaraki knows her attack isn't going to do any lasting damage, and if she wants to destroy him, she'll have to bring out the big guns. He realizes that she has a plan, and that it is do or die time for both of them. I really dug the visual of Shigaraki, Star, and the one squad member splitting the screen.
I have to agree. The animation in this episode is top notch. Like they're really bringing their A game.
Yeah, I feel like the show has always had pretty exemplary animation. I can't really think of a moment where I was like, that could have looked better. They've always, used the space on the screen well. Good animation for fight sequences, and this is no different. This has been excellent so far, and we're only 2 episodes into this season.
Airstar catches the Tiamat missiles. They launch Airstar and Regular Star forward as she catches them. She uses New Order to redirect the missiles, as Shadow Shigaraki launches towards the jet. Airstar uses an intercontinental cruise punch on Shigaraki. The squad wonders if it worked.
Spoilers, it didn't.
I love that punch, though.
That punch was really great. We see Endeavor and the Batmobile that Best Jeanist and Hawks are in. Endeavor wonders if the fight is over. Star wonders if the Tiamat punch was enough to defeat Shigaraki, as we see a crater in the ocean as the water slowly begins to fill back in from where she punched. An absolutely destroyed looking Shigaraki begins charging at Star and the squad. He knew she had something up her sleeve, so he used decay to bury himself underground to survive. The visual of his plan in action was really well done here.
Shigaraki really is just like a cockroach. He's always crawling around and barely surviving. He's ugly and he creeps you out, but he's somehow bizarrely resilient.
Shigaraki believes he won. The squad realizes that Star is in trouble and begins to converge on her location. Shigaraki orders the Nomu to explode, blasting the squad away. The visual of Shigaraki burned with red eyes is so creepy looking. They really nailed that animation. He orders Star to hand over New Order, as he would use it in ways she never thought of. Shigaraki lands on one of the jets. The pilot says for Star to destroy the jet, as the explosion will kill Shigaraki. She says no, as he regenerates too quickly. She hesitates as she can't harm one of her brothers. In her hesitation, Shigaraki launches himself at Star and grabs her face. We get a voiceover from All for One. He was concerned at the idea of New Order joining One for All in the battle against him. He talks about his plan and how he used it to delay any foreign heroes from coming to Japan while he completed his body and steal One for All, and then to steal New Order. We see the power of New Order slowly leaving Star and going into Shigaraki. I love how Shigaraki says, "Goodbye, America."
This is legitimately kind of freaky to watch. Seeing the villain winning is something that we don't actually see a lot in media. And I've had a number of people I know actually stop watching this show because at times it gets a little too dark for their tastes when they just want to watch like a laid back shonen series, and then the show's like killed or maimed a large number of characters, specifically female characters, which is kind of weird actually. Um, and something that I think has bothered a lot of people. But I could totally see some people dropping this show after this episode because they introduced an unbelievably cool character, and they especially a woman, and they get 2 episodes of time, and that's about it.
I was on the edge of my seat, and then the face grab, and I like I was deflated. I was like, "Oh, come on. We just got this character. What are you doing to me, show?"
Yeah, when I was reading the manga, I was almost like screaming. Like I was reading on my phone, and I was almost just like screaming at my phone. I'm like, "You have to be kidding me!"
No.
Star is unable to resist decay. We learn that Shigaraki activated decay, and All for One begun to steal her power at the same time, making Star choose what to save, her body or her power. Shigaraki tries to use New Order on the air, but Star just smiles. Shigaraki starts getting attacked from some invisible force as his muscles and skin begins to explode. The squad can't believe what they are seeing. Shigaraki is wondering what the hell is going on. It feels like his quirks are rupturing. Star begins to decay. We see that she lost her left arm up to her elbow. Her cape is starting to disintegrate. It looks like she got hit by the blip.
Thanos got another one.
She says before Shigaraki got her, she made a new rule for New Order to rage against any other quirk it comes in contact with. The visual of New Order ravaging Shigaraki's quirk is awesome. I love how All for One said she cheated. Star begins to decay faster.
I love the explosion animation. How like his body is just like blowing up. Um, that's a fun. That was kind of a fun ride there. Um, I hate the decay animation, but it's mostly because I wanted Star Strike to achieve total victory, and so I'm just salty about that.
Yeah, the animation's been great all around, and I did not see this, so that this was a fun twist, and she's gonna get her revenge.
Got a laugh out of All for One saying that Star cheated. It's like, dude, you're the villain. You cheat all the time.
Yeah, villains are the only ones who are allowed to cheat, don't you know?
Those are the rules.
Shigaraki realizes he has to give New Order away to save himself. The squad shoots lasers at him to keep him in place. Star talks about how All Might saved her, and because of that, she was able to lose herself in this wonderful dream. We get a montage of a young All Might and a young Star. Star says this is her returning the favor as she gives a salute. We then learn that Shigaraki stole a wing quirk from the Nomu before it exploded, which to me just feels like real bad plot convenience. He begins to fly away as he blames All Might for what is happening to him.
Stealing the Nomu wing quirk was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Holy plot convenience, Batman. Couldn't you have just have had that one wing quirk as one of the already stolen quirks? You know, what I mean, he has a whole stockpile of stolen quirks. Can't you just been like, I activate my wing quirk, you know, instead of being like, I took it from that guy who's like half a mile over that way and got fried by lasers. Like, it was very out of place.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of that either. I also didn't really care for the exploding Nomu bit. I'm like, oh, they explode now? Well, all right, I guess I'll buy that. But the wing one on top of that, no, no, I'm gonna call you out on that one. That was
Oh yeah,
dumb.
and where'd the Nomu come from? By the way, he's like, "Ha, I sent that Nomu up instead." I'm like, "Where was the Nomu?
Yeah,
Like, where'd he
Uh
come from?"
I thought Shigaraki arrived on a Nomu in episode 1.
Ah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah, you're right. There was a flying Nomu he arrived on. Yep, good point.
he just keeps a Nomu in his pocket just in case.
Yeah, it was just kind of weird.
Keeps it in a Pokeball to throw out whenever it's necessary.
A Nomu ball.
Nomu, I choose you. Star completely disintegrates into the ocean. The one pilot begins to cry and says she surpassed All Might and wonders if she knew that.
Her power really was right up there with All Might. I mean, All Might never truly defeated All for One, after all, and Shiraki's power is really at the same level as All for One. So it's hard for a hero to 1v1 All for One just because of how powerful he is. And the more time that goes on, the more powerful he becomes anyway.
I can't believe how bummed out I feel that we lost this character when we've known her for 2 episodes.
We meet convicted robber and murderer Kajiko Kashi smoking a cigarette and some redheaded woman. They are trying to find something on TV after they broke out of jail. All of a sudden, the wall breaks away as Shigaraki appears. The redhead calls him a ghost. Shigaraki says there is still time. He launches himself at Kashi. He tries to steal Kashi's quirk so he can store New Order in Kashi. As he attempts this, we see his wrist explode, and Star calls him an idiot. We learn that with this new role, New Order has begun to shred.
It was crazy how much work it put in, but it's not gonna be enough.
I do love the ghost comment though. That was very funny to me. Dude rips through the wall like the Kool-Aid man, and she's like, a ghost!
Ooh, spooky! Deku is here with a voiceover explaining how the heroes and military rushed to the scene, but only found the destruction that Shigaraki caused. We see Endeavor, Hawks, and Best Genus examining the drained bodies of Kashi and the Redhead. We then see the effects of Star's death on other countries around the world.
I love the hero who looks like he was plopped right out of an ancient Egyptian art. Like
It's like they pulled
I,
him right off the wall.
they pulled him off the wall, yeah,
he's
I
like
lo-
right out of the hieroglyphics, right? Like,
he's like flat and everything.
yeah, it was a fun design. I don't know. I know there's probably more to talk about here, but like that is what caught me of all the things.
I loved that design. I was laughing real hard at it.
Have they showed him before? I want to say that they did last season.
I think so. I feel
He
he feels very like memorable.
Yeah, like he popped up once in the background somewhere, and I was like, "What's with that guy?" And we got him again. So hopefully we see him again. I'm interested to learn about him.
All Might says he should have been there for Star. The squad says she left behind all the knowledge from their fight and gives it to All Might. All Might passes this information along to the students of UA. We learn that the students have an additional week to plan. All Might says that this delay of All for One's plan and the death of Star will lead to an all out war. All Might gives a little blurb of all the main villains we will be seeing the rest of the way. The odds are against the heroes.
After this week, it feels like we're really getting into the final arc.
We're in the end game now.
I was kind of shocked by the all-out war comment. I was like, I thought we were already at war. Have you looked outside? Do you see what's happening?
All Might says to use this extension for the students to get as strong as they possibly can. Bakugo yells, "What the hell do you think we've been doing?" as the strength of his voice pushes All Might back. The students show how much stronger they have gotten while Deku and All Might were away from the campus. I love how the episode ends with All Might smiling and realizing how much the students have grown since joining UA and calling All for One stupid. What did the two of you think of this episode?
It was a good one. I'm really ticked off that they killed off Star and Stripe already. But that's just what this show does on occasion. So, I don't know. Pretty good episode generally. Really, it was really a big kind of I don't know if I should say tone shift, but it's not just your regular episode of My Hero Academia. These two episodes had a different feeling to them, and I like the big showdown with the villain because they can show you kind of like like hey, here's how far Shigaraki's come. It was kind of like a good way to display the scope of his current abilities.
This is what we're up against, you know? Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode, and I enjoyed Star and Stripe. I feel like we definitely did not get enough of her. Would have liked to have had her hang out with, One for All and Deku and share stories and advice and trade combat secrets and strategies and techniques. That would have been a really cool thing to pay off down the road, but was not meant to be. So kind of bummed that we lost her. But it definitely feels like this is the setup for the all out war of Class 1A versus Shigaraki and crew. So this is it, boys.
I also really enjoyed this episode, but just like the two of you, I'm really bummed that we lost Star already. Like, she felt like she was supposed to be such an important character, and we only got 2 episodes of her. Like, even Ned Stark almost got an entire season before he died. We got 2 episodes and Rip City. Like, I remember this was months, if not a year or so ago. My wife and I were at Half Price Books, and they had one of the latest issues of the manga for My Hero out, and it had Star and Stripe on the cover. I'm like, "Oh, she was in the last episode. She must be a really important character coming up." And then to watch the show and we only get 2 episodes of her with, like, no backstory, it's like, "What the hell?" Like, you could have dedicated, like, 5 or 6 episodes to her easily. So that was really disappointing to not get more of her. And with that, we come to our waifu of the week. Turtle, who's your waifu of the week?
This week I have to go with Star and Stripe. She's awesome. Her power is insane. Can you imagine, the utility of such a power? There's so much you can do. And, her admiration for All Might and how she shows that, with her character design visually and everything. Really cool character. We already talked about it. Bummed we only got 2 episodes with her. But she went out like a badass. And I love it.
Sean, who's your waifu of the week?
Star and Stripe. My ideal ending for My Hero Academia is that Star and Stripe just wins this fight, and then finds All for One, and then just beats him to a pulp and kills him, and then the series just ends, and Deku's like, "Oh, I guess I didn't have to do anything after all." But I guess we have to let Deku win and save the day, probably. So, fortunately, Star and Stripe, your death was foretold in the general movement of the plot. So, for the second week in a row, I picked Star and Stripe.
Season 7, 2 episodes long. Star and Stripe punches both villains. Game over.
That's what I'm saying. Would have been a better ending.
We're making it a clean sweep. I'm also going Star and Stripe, mainly you two have covered the reasonings on why. Great character. Wish we got more of her. R.I.P. Star. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watched Kaiju number 8 in My Hero Academia. We hope you join us next week for episode 64 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will continue our watch of My Hero Academia Season 7 in Kaiju number 8. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. If you are listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you next week.